welcome to the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. I'm, of course, Nick McDaniel, and as always, I am joined by my muddy Myron.
Once again, joining you people, our fans, our friends, and the lovely people that listen to this show every week with more wrestling information. Not knowledge, information.
Yeah, man, it's going to be a crazy busy show this week. We started back because the mailbag was filling up. And this week, dude, we got probably more mail this week than ever. So I was like, dude, now lots of duplication, questions, obviously. You would, as you would probably imagine. But, dude, it completely, so more questions. And so we're going to rapid fire through some of them as fast as we can. But some of them are going to require a little bit more of a conversation, obviously. And we appreciate it, man. Always keep sending those questions in to tappedoutpod@gmail.com. That's the easiest one. If you send them to the email, because they'll go to my, obviously they're easier to just manipulate than, worrying about the DMs and all that kind of stuff or whatever. So, man, always send those again, tappedoutpod@gmail. We appreciate that. And we also appreciate about anybody who's watching us on YouTube. That's kind of our new go-to home, as we've talked about in the past. YouTube.com/C/Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast, or just go to go onto YouTube and search Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast, and you'll find us. That seems to be the easiest thing to do, I guess, as most people would tell you. Half the time, by the time you type Tapped Out Wrestling, boom, we're usually popped it up. So, that's awesome, man. But yeah, dude, I mean, the mailbag, like I said, just completely filled up. Tons of stuff.
Some good ones
on.
too. Some damn good questions and some tough ones.
Yeah, I mean, dude, there's lots of stuff going on, man. Wrestling, is hot right now. I mean, with you've got WWE. Then this past week, obviously you got AEW, blah blah blah. You got MLW, you got NWA, Impact, Ring of Honor, but slash AEW, I guess at this point. New Japan's got a ton of stuff going on.
Forbidden back doors. Yeah, and all these other things.
I mean, so all kinds of stuff, man. It's just lots of stuff going on. But man, let's just dive right into it. We try to sort the questions through. Myron,
start with Alex from Knoxville, Illinois. Do you guys think Seth Rollins needs to win Money in the Bank? Well, he lost 3 matches to Cody Rhodes. 3 damn good matches. Cody's out. What are they doing with him? What are they doing with Seth? I don't know, Nick. I seem to remember Seth being a really good Money in the Bank champion.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's it'd be a good way to rebound from his 3 losses, like you pointed out, to Cody. At the same, look, we've all been led to believe at this point, right, that Cody was probably supposed to win Money in the Bank. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know, but that's what you're led to believe. So I guess if you're gonna if Cody's out, you're going to pick up that momentum with somebody, the guy he beat maybe. Look, there are other options, but there's pros and cons, I guess, to Seth winning. Like you said, I mean, it will continue to give him the heat, right? Like it'll give him, and let's just face it, like when heels have the Money in the Bank, it just seems to be better.
It's better. It's sneaky. It's greasy. It's one of those things where a babyface champion and a heel can be so entertaining. A heel chasing him, I think they can make a lot of money. Sell a lot of tickets this way. Yeah,
I think the gimmick itself lends itself,
yes,
to being for a heel. Now I know you can't do it every year, but like when babyfaces win, it just doesn't have the same. Like think about it, wasn't it like when Cena got it? Like, remember, like, it was like, I'm cashing in on this date, I'm telling you up front, like, I get it. It makes sense. But my thing is, if you're not cashing in at Mania, then what's the big,
Yeah. I like to see the guy come down the ramp with the briefcase and look. Match is going bad. Something's weird.
Champion gets beat down. Like he's laying down, they tease the whole. Like that's what I think. Again, that's what I'm saying. It lends itself to that type of thing, and I know people are like, "Oh, well, they should use it to get some young guy over." I just don't know.
I don't know if any young guy has the awareness to do it yet. I don't know. They're wrapped up. There's a lot of guys wrapped up in factions right now. Okay, they don't need to win it because they've already got it. They've already got a story. Young guys that are free that could take that big of responsibility, I don't know. I don't know who I would name.
Yeah, I just think in my take, Seth is a really good fit for the win. That's just my take on it right now. So honestly, if it were me, I probably would go. I can think of other options, don't get me wrong, but it's kind of like when you talk about currently how it's landscape, that's who I would go with. And if not, it will, like, the only other option leads me into my next question.
Yes. Travis from Conway, Florida. Rumors are that Roman is now out of Money in the Bank and will possibly face Randy Orton at SummerSlam. Do you think he could be the chosen one to beat him?
100%, right?
I think he could be. I don't think he is, though.
Oh, no. I don't think he will be the one who does it. Okay, here's my take on it, too. Like, if you wanted a surprise entrance, but they don't do surprise entrance in Money in the Bank. So, like, Randy winning would be a great way to catapult him into getting a shot because maybe Roman doesn't want to wrestle him. You know, something like that. Like, you could get there. But they don't do surprise entrances, so he's out. So let's just say, you know, Randy does come back and he does wrestle Roman at SummerSlam. I just don't think, look, we keep hearing this Rock rumor for WrestleMania next year. They will hold out all hope that Rock's coming back, and in my opinion, I could be totally wrong on this. I think they wanted and I don't mean, you know, at that point they wanted an unbeaten Roman for that stretch. Like they want him going in there with not being beat, you know, like, but Rock's gonna be the guy. You know, the fans buy into Rock's gonna be the man who's gonna come in and beat him. Until they know Rock's not going to be there, they're gonna protect that. In my opinion, they're gonna protect that spot.
But they could make it look interesting by putting Randy in there just to see what happens.
Because he's
just to have Randy. Yeah, but he's not. I don't think he'll be ready by Money in the Bank.
No, SummerSlam.
Will Randy be able to wrestle?
SummerSlam. They're talking. The rumor is he's going to wrestle him at SummerSlam, not at Money in the Bank. Money in the Bank. Okay. Roman's not even on the card anymore.
I know that. I would think Randy would have to win the title shot at Money in the Bank to wrestle him at SummerSlam.
No, Randy could just come back because they're doing the thing on SmackDown with Riddle.
Okay.
And they could set up down the road, then they would hype that he's coming back to avenge Riddle because, you know, with the gimmick they're doing that if Riddle loses on SmackDown, he can't challenge again.
Hey, I'm stoked about SmackDown this week. I may not be able to watch it live, but I'll definitely catch the replay on it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 100% agree with you. But I think he could be the chosen one. You know, if it were me, I think he's one of the guys that have enough cachet there and, you know, win. You know, that's just my take, but, you know, whatever. Before we can get to your next question, man, though, let's talk about our friends over at the Athletic Greens. Our next partner has a product I use literally every day. I started taking AG1 because I wanted more energy and I wanted to see what was all the hype about. So what is this stuff? With one delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, even aging. I personally use it because when I started this keto fasting diet I'm on, I was worried about the energy I was going to have. Not now. It supports better sleep quality, recovery, mental clarity, even alertness. By the way, it's cheaper than getting all the different supplements that's in this thing. Athletic Greens has over 7,000 five-star reviews and even recommended by professional athletes. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient and daily nutrition. It's one scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements that you're looking to look out for your health. So to make it easy for you, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you got to do is visit their website at athleticgreens.com/emerging. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/emerging. SummerSlam.com/emerging to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. All right, brother. Well, what do we got coming up next, man?
We're going to jump right back into it with Lance from Donna, Texas. Lance asked, Paige announced that she is leaving the WWE soon. What are your thoughts on her going to AEW? Oh, Paige. Been with the WWE for God knows how long now.
She was a kid. People don't even realize, like she was a kid when she got there.
Yeah. They started early in England.
She was like 18, 19. I mean, it's like something crazy. Like, I mean, she was super, super young. Here's the thing. She's the exception to the rule. How many times have we said, like, AEW doesn't need to sign any more WWE, like, talents?
Yes.
She's my exception.
I agree with you on this one. I agree with you. She would be a solid sign because she's been in the business for a while. Her mother was in the business for a while. She can bring more than just wrestling. You know, if there's trouble in the women's division, she could help in the locker room. If they really are having that much trouble that I hear that the women's locker room has in AEW right now, Paige could be the person that is an advisor, as a coach, managing people. Does she have to wrestle to be a benefit? No. Would it be a benefit? Yes, but I don't know if she's 100% healthy enough.
Right. That's the biggest thing is, I want her to be healthy to wrestle. That's it. That's simple. If she's not, and you still have a plan for her, like you can put her, like you said, in multiple different roles, whether it be the coach, a manager, whatever. I just think that she has so much to offer a struggling women's division because they do have, and look, it doesn't matter how they are at the top. I think down, I think it's a struggle. And that's just my opinion. Take that for what it is. No matter what, I just think she has a lot, like you said, there's more to coming to the table than just wrestling. So A, as a wrestler, B, as a coach, whatever, consultant, blah, blah, blah. I just want her to stay healthy. I want her to stay straight. I want her to, keep all that good, everything positive. She looks great. There's so much how she's turned everything around. And I think she would be a good example for a lot of the ladies on that roster. That's
she was one of those people that when they tried to get away from that full push away from their social media marketing, their Twitch and their TikTok and all that, Paige was the one that stuck to her guns. And so she has more knowledge about making money in wrestling than just in the ring and stuff. I think she could help a lot of the younger talents augment their income. So more power to her.
There's also, to me, there's a lot to be said for somebody who can also teach you what not to do as well as what to do. So, and I think that is in a positive way, not in a negative way, but it's in a positive way.
She's matured.
Yes.
She's figured things out. It's a lot different person than it was, 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah, 100%. So, yes, she is the exception. I actually do think there's a place for her there. But now, of course, I hate to follow up this question, but you knew it was going to be asked, and we, of course, would be remiss. Our buddy down in Arkansas asked that question. So
yes, our friend Derwin from Conway, Arkansas. Thank you again for another excellent question, Derwin. How do you think the new situation with Jeff Hardy will affect his current AEW run? Well, in my opinion, it's over.
You think it's over? I'm like, you really think they're going to? Let me back up. We're going to separate the two things. Should it or will it?
The run, this current run is over. If he isn't in rehab or isn't some form of help gotten, it's a mistake. He's a very sick human being. He needs help, and they need to take care of him.
Yeah. So
this run stops. Maybe come back later. Maybe, I don't know. But the only thing is he needs to be healthy. And he's not healthy now.
Yes. Like I always tell people, like, I'm not going to beat people up about addiction and alcohol. Listen, I mean, this is probably more than, you'd be expecting me to share, but my family tree, dude, like there's lots of, alcohol and, and stuff in my family history. So, and listen, I'll be the first to admit, and I tell people this all the time. And it goes back to what we just spoke to about Paige. There are things when I tell people, like, I was stupid when I was young, and I did things that I'm not proud of.
Yeah.
You know, and look, some of them is getting behind the wheel. Look, I shouldn't have driven, and I did. It's horrible to see. That's why I don't beat up guys who are like, oh, they got a DUI. I'm like, look, shit happens, right? I mean, I'm not encouraging.
Did you stop doing it?
Yes, I tell people all the time, this is why I know you shouldn't do this, because, you know, and I can give specific examples. But here's the but. However, there does come a time in your life when you have to face the reality of what it is, and you just got to get help. I think it's 3 DUIs in 10 years or something like that. And I mean, with a revoked license or suspended, like whatever, like the charges were all there, right? You can go, it's public record. You can go there. My point being, you just have to accept it. I mean, because literally he could have killed somebody multiple times at this point. And that's
the last time, if I'm not mistaken, he had a pretty nasty wreck in it too.
Right. That's my point. Like there's multiple occasions now he could have killed somebody. And this isn't me saying like, you know, bad human, bad. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you have to try to fix these, and try to help. Look, this isn't like, I know I've looked online and I've seen people like, it's kind of a catch-22 because like we beat up the WWE about, oh, he passed his drug test. Okay. Well, how about a sobriety test? Big difference.
Sonny just killed somebody.
I mean,
drunk driving.
It's not the WWE's fault. It's not the AEW's fault. I don't get into that part of it. I know a lot of people are like, well, AEW shouldn't have had him do it. Like, this is a Jeff Hardy problem to solve. Like, you know, now, but he probably needs help with it. And I hope if WWE reaches out and says, our offer's still on the table to put you in rehab, take the fucking offer.
Yeah.
Don't be prideful and don't say no. Take the offer.
The thing is, the government, the law is going to stop you. They're not going to let you continue to do this just because you're a celebrity and a wrestler. You're going to wind up in jail. And that's not going to be fun, and you're going to dry out the hard way. Get yourself some help. Get yourself under control. I mean, everybody knows I love to drink some bourbon, but I don't get behind the wheel. I make a very careful point, and that's not that hard, folks. Jeff is a sick individual. He needs help. It is no different than any other form of mental illness or cancer or diabetes. It's a disease, but he's going to hurt someone, not just himself. He has a wife and he has kids. Something has to happen soon.
Right. 100%. I mean, like, this is the issue that we face here. This is bigger than wrestling. Like, this isn't about, you know, he should be working here, shouldn't be working here. I mean, this is like literally like this. He needs to be held accountable, for one. He needs to get the treatment that he needs. And at the end of the day, the hard part to swallow, maybe wrestling isn't what he needs right now. Like, maybe he needs to be. We said that when it happened at WWE. I was like, listen, if it's this bad, and I didn't even know at that time, right? We didn't know that was this. It's like, maybe you shouldn't be wrestling. Maybe you need to just go over here, take care of this stuff, and try to get help. Like, I know everybody thought, like, oh, he'll be in AEW, he'll be with Matt, he'll be okay. Okay, that hasn't worked either. So we just got to figure out, what do we do to get you somewhere that you have that help? It's that simple. So, but hey, before we move on, man, let's get to our next sponsor. Make sure we take care of them before we get out of here. Get to the next question.
You still working on this?
It's 2 minutes to kickoff. Who do I pick?
2 words, Prize Picks. It's so easy. Prize Picks is daily fantasy sports made easy. It's just you against the numbers. Simply pick the over-under on 2 or more players, and that's it. You can win up to 10 times your money in just one day. Join over 150,000 people who found a better way to play. Download the Prize Picks app today and get your first deposit match up to $100.
All right, brother. Well, let's keep it rolling, man. What's the next question?
Yes, sir. Ryan from Fairville, North Carolina. With the Forbidden Door pay-per-view coming up, what do you think of all the news and rumors coming out about it? Well, what do we think, Nick? Because we had this discussion earlier. Is a door forbidden anymore?
No. I'm so beyond the forbidden door concept at this point, because there's really only one real, in my opinion, one real forbidden door left. It's WWE, right? Like, they don't, and it was cracked, by the way. Remember we talked about Impact when Mickie James came back and was at the Rumble. Like, they cracked that door a little bit. Mm-hmm. There is absolutely no such thing. What did you say? It's a marketing tool at this point.
Yeah, it's a term. It's like, it's almost like calling it, it's almost like Money in the Bank. It's a pay-per-view name. Because the door is not forbidden. It's just an attractive thing. It's a way you draw people's eyes. Forbidden door. Okay? There's going to be some forbidden things here, but it's not going to be because of, like, never could this happen. No, there's some contractual disputes. And it might have a bit of an impact on it. But is it really going to take people? Is Andrade that big a deal? The fact that AAA may not allow Andrade to work Forbidden Door because CMLL and New Japan, CMLL and AAA are rivals. Would Andrade missing the pay-per-view be that big a deal?
No.
How about the Lucha Brothers?
It depends on who they were supposed to wrestle. I mean, like, but you know, I don't know if there's anybody in Japan that people are like clamoring for, but they could be. And I think that's kind of the big thing is like, if you're building matches between these promotions, like we here's the part we discussed, which cracked me up. So on AEW right now, the AAA tag champions work for AEW. Yes. Ring of Honor is a blob of included in at this point of AEW. They want to say they're separated, but until Ring of Honor has its own show,
yes,
it has been swallowed by AEW. In my take, it's not a bad thing. That's not a shot. That's just kind of where we are. Like, I consider them the same company until they have their own product somewhere, even if it's on YouTube. Mm-hmm. I don't care until they have their own standalone show. They're swallowed up. Then you're talking about the New Japan stuff. Well, you got guys that are under contract with AEW who work, you know, Moxley has pretty much a fly open door. QT Marshall, he's been working the New Japan shows here in the States. So there's just a major overlap between the two. So there's no major forbidden door, quote unquote, there. It's not a knock. I think it's cool. Here's the crazy thing. I think it's cool that they're all working together. Yeah. And I'm all for it. But it's not a forbidden door because it's just on a given Wednesday you can see it happen. Yeah. So, you know,
I want to see if the Revival are wrestling. I really want to see if the Revival or FDR wrestles on this pay-per-view, because then it would be an exception.
Well, if they wrestle, because they could wrestle, but will they come out with the AAA titles on? Because they can't. You know what I mean? That would be the question. So could they wrestle on it? Sure, they have a contract with AEW. Of course, they can wrestle for them.
So does Andrade. But I don't know the difference between Andrade's AAA contract and FTR's AAA contract. Right. This is going to get into wrestling contracts, and I am not skilled in legal and bullshit enough to be able to go through these.
I'm going to ask you this question. This is because, you know, the next thing I had on the notes was, you know, like, I don't know that there's going to be any major significant title changes. Now, I know we're doing the interim champion thing, which we'll discuss in a second. Yeah. So, but we're discussing that's going to happen. But do we really think, and by the way, the note under that, I really hope I'm wrong. Like, that's the note there. Do you really think they're going to put the AEW interim championship on Tanahashi to have a match when Punk comes back? Moxley's going to win, right?
They have to be able to control that.
Now, hold on. The only example that I could see this for even remotely happening is if somehow, some way, Punk's supposed to be back in 3 to 4 weeks after Forbidden Door. And then that they're going to give you the match, because originally we thought we were going to get Tanahashi versus Punk at Forbidden Door, right? Mm-hmm. And if it was for the title, I'm going out on a limb and saying Punk was going to win. Yeah. Makes sense. So all that being said, I could say, hey, can we borrow Tanahashi once or twice in that month after to carry over to the next pay-per-view? Now, if Punk's out for 4 months, because I don't even know at this point. I should, but I just don't. But if he's not, Jon Moxley's winning. So there's no major twists and surprises probably coming out of this pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Do you know who's buying this match or these? Again, I preface, we have this conversation on the Indie Talk at times. We have it here, Myron. The people buying this pay-per-view are your die-hardcore wrestling fans. They want to see these great wrestling matches. Not a knock, I don't know that your story is going to be built enough to get there that it would have been like, I cared and I was so emotionally invested. It's just it's really good in-ring matches.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just not my cup of tea.
It's New Japan.
Yeah.
AEW, this Forbidden Door, they're essentially trying to give you a New Japan show in America on a pay-per-view.
Yeah, because it's those Mark Wet Dream type stuff, and nothing wrong with that. If you enjoy wrestling, and that's what you enjoy about wrestling, more power to you. Not my thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's some match, by the way, on Southern Honor on the Georgia Indie Talk when we do that show. That's exactly what it was, and I enjoyed the hell out of the match. Mm-hmm. So that's the key thing to keep in mind. So it's not we're saying it's a bad thing, but there is a guy that should have, in my opinion, been on the card. That's not on the card.
This is going to take more explanation from you, Nick. Nathan from St. Look at that massive athlete. Sorry, Nathan. Nathan from St. Paul, Minnesota. Now that we know who will be wrestling for the AEW interim title, why was Wardlow not involved at all? Well,
my answer is simple. I have no idea.
A friend of mine on Facebook the other day pointed out that Jon Moxley was a garbage man. And he kind of looks like a garbage man. I don't get the fascination with Moxley. I think this Wardlow character is your future. You can do more with him than you could with Moxley. Why not give him the...
Okay, I disagree on the Moxley thing to an extent. Like, I think Moxley has built a reputation in the wrestling world that I think it goes... He to me, he's very CM Punk. Is he overrated? Yes. I think he's a 9, not a 10. Everybody thinks he's a 10. He's overrated. He's still, I still think he's a 9. As far as Wardlow goes, again, I say I have no idea why he was not involved. The reason when he cut his promo, I guess it was, by the way, we're going to just time travel like 2 weeks at this point. When you're listening to this, when he said, and it's funny, I was listening to Busted Open and I was saying it, and then Tommy Dreamer said it, which is scary that I have a similar thought that Tommy Dreamer had. That the answer given that, like, oh, I didn't want to be like in the match essentially is because I wanted to beat Punk. When I win the championship, I wanted to beat Punk for it. Okay. When we talked about the rankings last week, and I said that is the most WWE thing that I've ever heard. This isn't even WWE. This is just stupid. Like, that reason made no sense to me whatsoever. Because here's the logic. You asked me to explain it. This is where I went with this.
Yes. Diagram the sentence.
If he wants to beat Punk for the AEW championship when he becomes champion, there's one way to guarantee he's going to get that shot. That would be to win this interim championship. You know why? Because you can't trust your rankings because you were number 1 and you got knocked out. No explanation how you went from 1 to 2. So I don't depend on the rankings to get you a title shot. So the only way I could tell you that you were going to be guaranteed that shot was win this championship. Win this interim championship, and when Punk came back, you would get your chance. That'd be the first person you'd wrestle. You would, without a shadow of a doubt, know. But you gave me something about like, oh, I didn't want to, like, what, you didn't want to mess with this? You didn't want to waste your time with this interim title. When you won, you wanted to be, so the reason was horrible. I'm a huge Wardlow guy. Everybody knows that. I think he has tons of potential. This could be one of the most Like this is bad. This booking concept to me was as bad as Raw was this week. It was that bad.
Throw out the ratings. Just throw them out.
I was cool with them right up until whatever it was, 2 weeks ago or a week and a half ago, whatever the hell it was, when you gave me a ranking on Wednesday and Wardlow was number 1, and then on Friday, because you needed Moxley to be number 1, you changed it. And he had only remember, we discussed this last week. He beat Daniel Garcia on Wednesday night, and somehow he went from 4 to 1.
So if I was Wardlow, I would just try to book Daniel Garcia every day until
there you go.
Punk comes back. That way you'll be so high up in the rankings.
You'll be number 1 without a doubt. You'll be number 1, and therefore they can't take that away from you. My think was it again. He should have. How cool would Raw have been had he destroyed everybody in the Battle Royal? And think about the credibility, because I do think Mox has that cachet to him. If he wins the Battle Royal and he wins against Moxley in the main event and goes on to Forbidden Door to become the interim champion, this is not a knock. This is a question. Is he not in that match because they don't think he can go with somebody like Tanahashi? And therefore, you kept him out of it for that reason.
That would be the only reason I could think of.
So, I think they're wrong. That's the problem. I think you're wrong. If that is the logic, I think they're wrong. But it just doesn't make any sense how we got there. And this is like as much as I love that guy and everything they've done. I think they've done almost everything with him right up to this point. This is the first time I felt like they dropped the ball with Wardlow. But anyway. But man, hey, I know you're excited about something this weekend, Myron.
This is something Father's Day weekend. We're going to get an Impact pay-per-view. Corey from Lancaster, Virginia wants to know. I know Myron is a big Impact fan. What do you guys think of the upcoming Slammiversary card? It's a Sunday, June 9th on pay-per-view. I'm kind of excited about this card. There's some really solid matches on here, and I think we're going to get probably some great high spots, some phenomenal women's wrestling, and the Josh Alexander Eric Young match.
I won't cut you off, but I do want to ask you that. You brought up the women's match. There's a reason the picture's there. Stunningly, how often not do we look at Impact, and that to us is like the thing we were most interested in on the card?
Well, the Impact to me has the number 2 women's division in sports entertainment right now. I think they're above AEW. I think it's a more consistent product. They may not have a lot of the star power AEW has, but they get the most out of them. To me, Deonna Purrazzo is probably the best women's wrestler outside of the WWE right now. Jordan Grace is amazing. Okay. Chelsea Green is cool. She's got the weird factor. Tasha Steelz is a great heel. Maya Yim is an amazing talent. Worked for WWE for quite some time. With Mickie James as a guest enforcer. You don't get any bigger than Mickie James as far as women's wrestlers go.
No, especially in Impact, right? That's your, yeah.
You've got a solid division there.
Yeah.
And for the tag team, Carl Anderson just won one of those Japanese belts. Never under open.
The never championship.
Yeah, I don't even know what that means. And they got them. They got the.
I want to
sidebar. Briscoes versus Good Brothers.
Did you see the press conference and our friend Lewis Carlin, by the way, on Shooting Up North podcast? Check him out if you're a big Impact guy. He's a massive Impact person. I always say go to his YouTube channel and give him a follow.
Definitely.
Did Carl Anderson shit all over Impact Wrestling?
I heard that. I did not see the press conference. So tell me what he said.
I mean, basically, he kind of meant like he said in so many words, and I paraphrase, so if I butcher this, I apologize. Something to the effect of, like, when there's 5,000 or 6,000, he turns it up a notch, not when there's like 200 or 300 people in the crowd. Like, people forget how good they are because they don't really turn it up when there's only 200 or 300 people in the crowd. And I'm like, did he just shit on Impact? Because he like Impact. So there's a part of me that was like, and so the comment people are making is like, so in other words, you're just stealing money from Impact. Like, you're just taking the payday and you're going in there and half-assing it and, whatever. So, like, are they on their way out, or the Briscoes going to basically be there? They'll, give them their walking papers, and the Briscoes will that'll build their legacy. They're going to put the guys over on the way out, right? If he was really shitting on Impact, okay. I always tell people, I just don't think they're going anywhere. I think the money's too easy from Impact.
Well, these guys, I mean, those guys live around here in Georgia, and they drive up to Impact to tape.
Yeah.
It's easy money. I mean, I would, to me, working for Impact is probably the best gig. It's not the best paying gig, but the best gig in wrestling. As far as travel and all that other stuff. And then you can work anywhere else.
Right.
You can pick up whatever else you want. So, yeah, it's Ultimate X match. I love the Ultimate X matches. I can't wait to see that. I never can remember what a Monsters Ball match is till I sit down and watch it. Then it's just crazy. So, there's going to be some great wrestling. This is probably going to have some of the best wrestling you'll see on any show. So.
Yeah. Listen, Rich Swann, Brian Myers, that'll be a good one. Moose, Sammy Callahan. I know you got the Honor No More. How crazy is it? Are we still kind of hanging on to they're actually kind of like a Ring of Honor versus Impact feud, even they don't own Ring of anyway.
Yeah. It's working for them.
Yeah. And 2 signature matches from Impact Wrestling history: the Ultimate X match, like you said, for the X Division Championship, and then of course the Queen of the Mountain, which is the King of the Mountain. Have you heard Jeff Jarrett talk about that? So they recently you should give his podcast a listen. If you don't subscribe, you should be subscribing to that show. It's one of those because somebody asked how did we even get here? How was this match invented? And his take was, in your typical ladder match, that he felt mostly, essentially the champion walks down to the match and relinquishes his title, and then has to win it. He's not defending his belt.
No, that's a good point.
He's essentially relinquishing his belt. Whereas when the King of the Mountain, you have to kind of be pinned. You go into the penalty box, and then somebody has to take your belt and hang it up or whatever for you. So it's kind of you kind of do have to be beat in a roundabout way to lose your belt in the King of the Mountain match. And I just thought it was kind of unique. Check it out. Like I said, I think it's cool. So, but it's cool to see a women's version of this, match as well.
Good Lord, I enjoyed the Jeff Jarrett on the WWE on the Stone Cold Steve Austin show.
Yeah,
I didn't finish it because it got late. That was wonderful. The Cody Rhodes one was wonderful. I just love listening to those people talk. It was so old school, Nick. It was so man. Just talking about Dusty, and all the old guys. Wow, those were great. Those are great.
Very interesting twist. I was going to talk about this funny thing as I was going to talk about this potentially on our indie show, but I'll address it now because you were talking about it. Cody brought up something on this is, by the way, is not. This is a extra the and more part of the description of the show. By the way, before we move too far along, make sure you check out Slammiversary this weekend. That's a huge, check it out. Buy the pay-per-view. But back to what I was saying, Cody talked about when people were talking about people being over.
Yeah, that was so cool.
He'd basically essentially imply there aren't really anybody that's over anymore. Because being over, because he said he thinks it's the most over is one of the most overutilized words in wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Because guys think they're over with the crowd because they get a reaction. No, they got a reaction. Being over with the crowd means that people will follow you. They will buy all your stuff. It's, I always say things like, there are rock bands that are popular, and then there are rock bands that are over, right? Metallica's over. It's almost like the Motley Crue at they were over. There are certain people, it's almost understood. Let's put it this way. Maybe this is the way to take it. Wrestlers, whatever, let me know if you disagree with this statement. This is the way I interpreted what Cody Rhodes said. And you can let us know, tappedoutpod@gmail.com. I essentially thought, the way I took it as a wrestler is, when there's a guy or two are over, he was talking about Rock and Austin and stuff like that, when they were at the top, he's and Hogan in his peak, those guys were over. To me, over essentially means, hey, we're going to run this building. The assumption is you're selling out. Yeah. These guys are so over, selling out the arena isn't a question. Like it's gonna happen. It's and now look, obviously you're gonna face obstacles of, hey guys, we're gonna try to put 75,000 people in a building. Okay, that's a little more than even that. But when they were running, the Omni, or when they were running, Chicago and New York, like Madison Square Garden, when guys are over, like it's a sellout. And some people would argue like, oh, well, that means that AEW is over. No, that doesn't. I think that means that they have a diehard fan base that's rabid, and it's something different and something
special. The brand
special.
is over, but nobody individually is over to me on AEW.
Right. If a guy left and went somewhere else and he still drew, that he's over.
Yes.
And so that's just my take on it, but that's the
I just didn't realize how wise Cody Rhodes was.
I mean, how could you not?
Dude, the dude is brilliant.
My wife said that, and I was like, he came from the lawns of Dusty Rhodes. Of course he's wise. I mean, just genetics alone, right? He should be, but it just being around his father like a sponge.
Oh, yeah, and when you talked about
things.
His dad being booked on top because he was a booker, it's like, no. His dad was booked on top because he was the most over babyface there had.
Yeah. So, but, and one of the best places you can find old Dusty matches is where, Myron? Over on YouTube, just like us.
Definitely.
Yeah, make sure you're checking us out. Like I said, go over to youtube.com, subscribe. Just do the search, Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. Always what we ask you to do, subscribe, turn your notifications on, so every time we load something there, bing, 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 it comes up. And, of course, if you'd like, become a member there as well. You get the shows early. Some posts that I put, I hide them completely behind a paywall. So the crazy thing is people that are just watching on YouTube don't even see the things that I put behind the paywall on YouTube. So go right into there, man, sign up. Also, if you're a podcast listener, obviously we're everywhere that, there is a podcast platform, whether it be iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, you name it, we're there. And also, we also ask you, man, if you are a podcast listener, give us a 5-star rating and review.
Yes, please. We
would greatly appreciate it. Yeah, we appreciate all that support, man. So, but anything else you got before we get out of here, man?
No, man. I'm feeling good about watching wrestling again. It's come back to me. I went through a little phase where it was kind of, but now I feel better about it. I think good things are happening. I think we're going to see more good stuff. Yeah,
and always, as we tell you, man, make sure another reason you want to do that, we got the Georgia Indie Talk section. That's right. We're going to film it right behind this one. Yes. And, that one will be recorded. And we got a big announcement about that over on that show. So if you've missed a week or so, make sure you check that one out. So, you don't want to miss the big announcement over on the Georgia Indie Talk section. Well, brother, if you got nothing and I've got nothing, what's the old saying, man?
It's time to tap out.